Yeah, I just saw my face, so it shocked me. But what happened was after the 6 months after September, I jumped out there in March 2020. And about 10, 15 days later, everybody knew what happened. COVID hit. And so it kind of
Dang.
hit me with like a wave of like, I was just getting momentum and then it all came to a complete stop. So that's where it was for me.
Yeah, you went from like, oh, I should get a job to where'd all the jobs go?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, that's a bad time to do that. I mean, so like so how did you end up finally landing a job? When was that?
Networking, like using LinkedIn, the people that I know on LinkedIn, and just going to, it's a lot of resources out there for veterans and military spouses. Make sure you take advantage of them. And that's what I did. I started going to webinars like this one here, and I ended up with one for vets in gaming. The main reason why I went is because my son's an avid gamer. Like I play video games, but I'm not an avid gamer like him. And I knew he wanted a career in gaming. So I just wanted to check it out. Never thinking that it was something there for me. Went through it, and just like every other webinar that I go through to, I connected with the speakers and the presenters, and I sent them a message. Hey, I liked how you talked today. Whatever they talked about that resonated with me, I sent them a genuine message telling them thank you for taking the time out today. And from there, I got a message from who became my hiring manager. And she said, hey, send me your resume. Let me look at it real quick to see what it looks like. So I sent my resume over, and she told me to make some corrections, made the corrections. And then I sent it back to her like, hey, I made the corrections. Because a lot of times when you network, a lot of times what's missing is the follow through. So they tell you to do something, you don't send a message back, and then all the conversations drops. So I sent a message, and then she said, apply for some jobs. Not thinking the jobs at Activision Blizzard. I just was thinking recruiting jobs. I was like, my resume is good enough for me to apply for recruiting jobs. About 2 months later, I got a message from her saying, hey, you want to join the team at Activision Blizzard? I have an awesome opportunity for you. Let me know what you're up to. And that's how it all started. She wanted to build out a team that was focused on veteran hiring and diversity. And basically, I was a perfect fit for that. Jumped in, and the ball started rolling from there. But that's how it happened. And that wasn't the only opportunity that I had at the time. It was a lot of opportunities just through networking, to be honest. Even reaching out to the people that I went to those job fairs at, just saying, hey, what's going on? I saw this job on your website. You got 15 minutes to chat about it, or minutes to talk about it because I'm interested in applying. 15 minutes is like that smooth time where if it keeps going longer than 15 minutes, you know you capture that person's attention. And if the call is like super boring, they can get off in 10 minutes and say they got to walk the dog.
Yeah, I got both of my dogs snoring at my feet right now, but I think I'm gonna walk them out on the middle of you. So what do you think? What do you think your biggest mistake was during the job hunt?
My biggest mistake was not transferring my military skills properly and not giving myself enough credit for what I have done. A lot of times we sell ourselves short because being in DOD, you do a lot of things. Like just being in the military in general, you do a lot of things and you think, that was just me doing my job. But the reality is those were transferable skills. Like I was a recruiter and in Orlando, and I like the Magic. I like basketball. So I basically set up a partnership with the Magic and our recruiting station where we were the veteran, like the hero, hometown hero every night during their home games. But I didn't think that was a big deal until like I talked to Jessica about it. And she was like, you just built a strategic partnership where, and I was like, a strategic partnership? I just got free tickets to the game. So a lot of times you sell yourself short. And it was strategic, but it wasn't what I was thinking. So I started looking at my skills and my time in the military a lot differently after that. Because we just sell ourselves short. Like you build out projects, and a lot of people can't build out these projects, and you were given nothing to build these projects out with, no matter if it was from an IT field or engineering space or even human resources. You're given projects to build out, and you're given a team to make it happen. and you make it happen. And that's very transferable in the corporate sector. You just have to know how to tell that story.
You know, it's funny you mentioned the partnership things. I didn't even think about it till now because I got a radio station out of Boston, which is huge at the time, to end up giving us almost $1 million worth of free advertising because I got one of their DJs to ride in the jet, which cost the DoD basically nothing because the jet's gonna fly anyway.
The jet's
And
flying, yeah.
the jet's flying whether the back seat's empty or not. And you know that worked out to be a ludicrous amount of money. I didn't even think about that as a strategic partnership. And then it cost nothing for about $1 million of advertising. So I might put that in my resume. So
Hey, you
thank you.
should, you should, and you do the same thing in corporate America. Like once I started working at Activision Blizzard, it was a lot of times just people loved the brand and they wanted to be a part of something that we had going on. So it was just talking to people, figuring out how I can leverage what they're doing to make veterans stand out at our company.
Yeah, and that's huge too, because that little extra support is. There was a guy here a few weeks ago from Zoom Info, and he dropped some kind of interesting stats on me. He said that a lot of companies don't see an increase in production when they hire one veteran, but if they hire two, the average increase in production is 3%. Now you think about that, it doesn't sound like much, but if your company's making like $100 million a year, that that's a chunk of change. It's $3 million right back in your pockets.
Yeah.
So that goes a long ways, just kind of how to put that out there. So, I mean, how did your Army recruiting experience, kind of color all of this for you during your transition and then doing what you're doing now?
Recruiting in the military is probably the hardest job in probably top five jobs in the world. And the reason why is because you're selling something that nobody really wants. Yes, we've all done it. We're all proud of our service. But if you remember in high school, it's only about, I would say, 3% of the kids that's running to you that's saying, hey, I want to be in the military. And usually it's some legacy behind it, or it's just something that they wanted to do. They saw a cool commercial. The rest of the kids that you recruit don't know anything about the military and they've been told all kinds of falsities about it. So
Mm-hmm.
the ability to talk to people, see people where they're at, not pressure them into making a decision translated very well when I was at Activision because I was able to talk to people about their skills, figure out what they wanted to do. And as a talent sourcer, you're poaching talent from major companies. So you have to find out what their buy-in is. What's going to make them join this company? And that was the same thing with the Army when I was recruiting for the Army. You had to figure out what was that person's buy-in, make them join the military. Um, and not be one of those people that's like a Debbie Downer on somebody else's company. Because if you're working for, say, and it's always military beef between Army, Navy, all that stuff. But you had to be delicate in saying that, oh, that's a good decision. Here's what I think about that decision. And this is how you can advance in that career move if you make that decision, because now you're building a relationship with that person. And the key thing being a sourcer was building a relationship because you're not going to take somebody from a company that they've worked for 2 years or on a project like finishing up, let's say, Battlefield 6. Like if they're about to finish up Battlefield 6, they're not about to jump off of Battlefield 6 or they're about to finish up Grand Theft Auto. They're not jumping off that project
Okay.
until the time is complete, like until the project's complete, unless there's something devastating that happened, like they didn't like the direction that the project was going or something like that. Otherwise, you have to stay in a constant flow of communication to talk to them about what's going on, how's the project going. Saw the news story about Grand Theft Auto. It looked amazing. You know what I'm saying? So you're keeping that line of communication open so that
Mhm.
you can be that person that they think of when they're ready to leave.
Yeah, it was something I saw when I was recruiting is, you'd see like the brand new young recruiters come in who didn't have a clue, like, oh, you don't want to go to the Corps, those bunch of idiots, blah, 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 blah. And me, I'd be like, hey man, if the Corps is the best fit for you, God bless you. Because you know what? When that tour was done and they got sick of it, they might go, hey man, that Air Force guy shot me straight. And I can't tell you how many calls I got after they finished their enlistment with another place and said, hey, by the way, and the same thing happens on the applicant side. If you didn't get that job, don't burn the recruiter because we're going to remember if the guy was a jerk. and
You
they weren't
definitely
the
are.
decision maker. So yeah, it's a good way of looking at it. So hey, on the gaming industry stuff, so like I gotta imagine that's got to be really tough to enter. So what makes somebody stand out to a guy like you in the first place?
What makes people stand out is AAA gaming experience. What they always look for. But don't get discouraged in the AAA gaming experience. Like when you're trying to get to a big company, usually what they're looking for is that AAA gaming experience. Right now, the gaming industry market is really, really tough. So what it can be discouraging to enter, but the things that stand out, especially among vets, is like the cyber skills, the product management and project management skills, and the leadership skills. Those things are transferable. So if you led a team or a project, you have to expound on how that project fits into the same pace that the gaming industry does because they're building live ops. So you're dealing with a lot of moving parts at the same time in a production space. The same thing that we did in the military. When you're getting ready for a deployment, it's a whole bunch of moving pieces. Just even any movement of soldiers, it's a lot of moving pieces. So you have to manage those moving pieces. You have to manage the equipment. You have to manage the money. You have to manage the meals. You have to manage the time. All those things. And what it comes down to is an op order. Like a lot of times we build op orders, but we don't translate those skills into saying that we manage projects because a lot of times getting out of the military, they're telling you, hey, get your PMP certification, which is good, but you have those core skills and that's why they're leaning you towards that. In the cybersecurity space, especially with gaming and technology space, is technologies that we've worked on in the military that are light years ahead of corporate America even though they seem pretty crappy in the military while we're working on them because there's all kinds of bugs. But it's usually years ahead of what corporate America is dealing with.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because like the military's got this mix of like cutting edge, like crazy bleeding edge stuff, and then like, hey, here's some stuff from the 70s we're still flying, and if you know MS DOS, you can work on it. Um, it,
Right.
it's that crazy mix. So I mean, for somebody who wants to pivot into gaming or entertainment, where do they start? Like, what's that AAA thing for the uninitiated?
For the uninitiated, you want to start with game jams. Build a game, get the experience on your portfolio, or work for an indie studio. If a gaming studio is hiring and they have positions available, you want to start off with an entry level because just like the military, you're not going to start off as an executive producer in the gaming industry. You haven't been there. But once you get into the gaming industry, there's ways, there are entry level positions that you can continue to climb, and you'll be better than most of the peers that are from college and things like that because you know what it's like to work on a grind. Because when they're putting out a game, it's usually a grind. And it's constant moving pieces, constant going. So you just have to translate those skills into like operations, things like that, production, and highlight the skills and the things that are in that job description. So a lot of times job descriptions call out for certain things and people just ignore it because at the end, at the bottom, it says we're equal opportunity employers. So even if you don't have these skills, still apply. The truth is, if you don't have those skills, you want to make sure that you can show how you have relatable skills to make sure that you're a fit for that job. Because if you don't show the relatable skills or how this matches up to what that job description is saying, you get one of those rejection emails or get ghosted, and that's never fun.
Yeah. So what about for somebody who, just, hey, I play games casually, a guy like me, I haven't played anything for a while, but so he play games casually, but wants to be in that environment, do they have a chance, or is it like, yeah, dude, find something else?
No, there's a chance, but you want to make sure that you don't get super excited about the game. A lot of times when you get into that interview, it's like talking to somebody that is at a company where you've spent your lifetime just playing the IP. So like a lot of times I would get on calls and World of Warcraft is super huge.
Oh
So
yeah.
what would end up happening is, and I knew nothing about World of Warcraft other than the South Park episodes before joining the company. I looked it up, I read about it, but I knew nothing. Like, I never played it, never knew anything about it. But that attachment to their childhood and their current life is huge. So when they would get on a call with me, they would talk about World of Warcraft. What we're hiring you for is the skills that make us money. So we don't, it's nice that you like the game, but it's more important that you have the skills that can drive the product forward, that innovation, things like that. Because just because you like the game, you're going to get to be in that culture. And usually after the interview's over, I know I talked to one person, like I do a lot of mentoring. So it was one person that was a total fit for the job. They had all the production stuff and like standing out, they stood out. And what happened was they were nervous because they were so much of a gamer and they had so much built into the IP, and the IP was Diablo. And so what I told them was focus on the interview. And they went to like BlizzCon, all the conferences, things like that, Comic Con. So they had special gear that nobody else has. So I said, wear the t-shirt. Like, for a gaming interview, you don't have to come dressed up. So you could come in a t-shirt. Wear the t-shirt from BlizzCon. Don't say anything about BlizzCon. Don't say anything about it. The interviewer is going to notice that because they love the IP just as much as you do. And sure enough, like at the end of the interview, they was like, where did you get that shirt from? And then they got to geek out about the game for like 10, 15 minutes afterwards. So it's those subtle hints. You don't have to be loud and out front, but you can do subtle things to show that, hey, I love this game. It's been a part of my life, but I don't have to talk about it because I know what we're here for. You're here to hire a producer. You're here to hire CISO for IT. You're here to hire an IT professional, somebody that can stop people from hacking into our system. So let's talk about that first. And if you ask me questions about the game, we can talk about that and nerd out and geek out for the rest of the time of the interview.
Yeah, it's
All you
kind of
have to
like,
do is show those subtle signs.
yeah, you got to be kind of careful how you geek out on stuff too. You're absolutely right because it's like, hey, if like Shaquille O'Neal said, hey, I need a personal assistant, and all you want to do is talk about like, man, that dunk you did on blah blah blah, and like, hey, man, that ain't getting my schedule done. That's not getting me into a new franchise. And at the end of it,
Correct.
they like you, they're gonna geek out or say like, hey, man, you got any questions for me? A guy like that, I'm like, yeah, man, what'd you say to Jordan when blah blah? I might do that, but you don't want to geek out and fan it because they want to see you're serious about the work.
Correct. That's the most important thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, what kind of roles are usually overlooked by us, but might be a great fit?
Roles that are overlooked by us are production coordinators because it's so entry level, but it doesn't require that marker of AAA experience. And then corporate functions like the IT professionals, the human resources, the recruiters, the talent acquisition, talent teams, learning and development. Those are roles that are overlooked by us because when you think gaming, just like me, when I went to vets in gaming, I thought you had to be a programmer. I never knew they needed recruiters because I didn't think about it as a Fortune 500 company when I was in that presentation. I just thought of it as a gaming company because it was brands in there that I've seen my whole life, like Sony PlayStation, Nintendo, Activision Blizzards. And when they present, they show you the product. They show you the IP so you can get excited. So PlayStation had this whole pitch where they showed all the new games coming out. I was excited. Activision showed you the new Call of Duty trailer that was just released to the public. So they show you things to make you excited about the brand. But we often overlook that they need more than programmers. They need finance people. They need people that just got their MBAs. They need people that are IT professionals. Like, hacking's a big thing. And if you can prevent somebody from hacking into their system, which we've prevented people from hacking into the government system at the times. So you have the skills, you have the markability. You just don't realize that gaming companies or tech companies really need these things.
Yeah, especially on the hacking side. If somebody hacks a game that's nearly complete, they have just totally screwed up that company.
Yeah,
So
you
they,
saw Grand Theft Auto when they released all those pictures and videos and things. Like, it wrecked the game. It, and they had to, like, because they were showing stuff that is proprietary. that no other company's done wrecks like their vision because now people are getting to see it before it comes out. So it's not as exciting.
Yeah, well, plus it gives somebody else an idea before it's released, and they're going to go to market, and it's that much less time you have that we are the only one in the market with it, which costs money.
Right.
Yeah, it
Correct.
makes sense. So, I mean, how important do you think like personal branding, LinkedIn portfolio work, or side projects are when you're trying to get noticed or gaming recruitment? You'd mentioned like making your own game before, so I was curious about some of that.
Personal projects are very important when trying to get recognized because it shows that you're doing the work. It gives you something to talk about. How you develop the code, how you made that thing work. We were doing skill bridge, and it was one um, fellow that came through that basically built his own world. And that was very advantageous for him to display that in a portfolio because when he had to interview with the hiring manager, the world builder, they basically talked about how did you build these worlds? Like, what was your concept when you thought about this? And then they had ideas about Overwatch. He became a skill bridge intern at Activision, and he had a great time and rocked out. So those things are important. You have to have those personal projects, especially if you're trying to get into art or world design or what's the other thing that I'm thinking about? VFX, things like that. You have to have that portfolio to back. So when people look at it, they can go, oh, okay, this person knows what they're doing.
Yeah, so I mean, and I imagine like the military experience for certain games they probably like because a guy might go over the shoulder and go like, "Yeah, the Chechens don't use that weapon," or whatever it is. For like a Call of Duty, all the accuracy stuff to get that right. Because I know every vet super frustrated when we watch TV show and like, "Oh yeah, wearing your dress blues out on the flight line." Everybody does that every day, you know.
Yeah. And they definitely use that expertise. I ran our veterans employee readiness group, and we had a lot of meetings where we talked to the developers about we show up as military people in these games. Um, what is important, especially like if you're going on a mission, what is bad to say? You know what I'm saying? So it was a lot of that. Um, weapon usage. A lot of the artists who draw those weapons, some of the times they do have military experience or they design weapons in their former life before they started working on the game.
That's pretty cool. Like, yeah, I used to design weapons for Colt. Oh, I'll come and do it for here and do a little bit better. So
And it's
over
all
on
about the realism.
yeah, well, I mean, because people are going to get it because now you have all the information in the world right here, or you can look it up and go sloppy or clean. So
Correct.
on the learning side of stuff, so like, what are kind of some of the top things you see on a resume that tells you a veteran gets it and they're ready?
Things that I see on a resume that a veteran gets it. Using the language. A lot of times when we're converting jobs and we're going into new industries, we don't use the industry's language. You have to figure out what that industry's language is and use it. So you want to make sure you're calling things the right thing when you're writing your resume, when you're doing your interview. And those are the key things that make
Yeah,
you stand out.
yeah, it makes sense. I mean, yeah, I definitely learned that because coming out, I mean, coming out of recruiting from the military world, civilian world, it was like, hey, these are my applicants and these are my jobs. No, these are your requisitions and these are your applicants or clients or whatever, the terminology you want to use it. But that took me a little while.
Yeah.
Like, how many wrecks do you have? I'm like, I've never wrecked a car. Why? I'm like, what's that mean?
Yeah. So it's important to use that language. And all that language can be found online. Everything's there, and you want to make sure that you're using the right thing. It's a lot of vets in the industry, so you want to make sure you take the time to talk to them. Spend about just reach out, like, hey, I see you're in the Navy. Hey, I see you were in the military. interested in this career field. So is it okay we reach out? Can you look at my resume real quick? Give me some pointers because they know exactly what the industry is doing at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, speaking of which, like, so what's something that you see that we often undervalue in ourselves, but hiring managers like, that's what I want. Crap. Not that they're looking for crap. See if we can get this done when the Jeopardy music going. Man, they're crushing the internet in his neighborhood, huh? So while we wait for a few moments as he smashes his phone and computer, any questions out there you'd like to ask or you'd like me to ask for you?
Yes,
Gotcha.
pay.
Hey, like what are these like, what to expect from different areas of the video game industry as you enter?
Yes, sir. And
Yeah.
even not to get too personal, what does he make? Because I'm a recruiter myself as well.
Yeah.
So
Oh, what's he get paid?
yeah, if it's not too much to ask.
Well, actually, you're on now, so he's on now. So if you want to ask the
I'm
question, go
back.
ahead.
Sorry about that, y'all. This has to be the worst technology that I've dealt with in a webinar ever, hands down.
Yeah, man. It's hey, Nicholas has got one for you. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, what's up, Nicholas? How you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for the valuable information. And thank you for your service, man. I'm a recruiter myself, getting ready to retire in January. I was just curious to know what was like your starting pay? What are the promotions and things like that throughout the time? Um, if I was, considering.
Okay, cool. Starting pay for recruiters in corporate America ranges anywhere from 30 to upwards of $70. It just depends on where you're working at. If you're working in your local community, it'll probably range around that 30 to $40 range. If you're working for a corporation, it usually goes up to 50 to it could go all the way up to 100 depending on that skill set. Um, what's the other thing? If you've led people before, you want to make sure that you get in. So you want to start as a recruiter, and then work your way up. So the thing about the difference between the military and corporate America is after you've done 2 years there and you're still working, it might be time to leave so you can get your promotion. And a lot of times military folks stay because they're loyal. Um, Everybody on this call is super loyal because y'all served our country. And so the thing is, corporate America is not that loyal. So once you get your 2 years, you get those skills, that experience, you want to take that next step and find that next career opportunity. And people are going to start asking about, like, hey, you want to join my team? But the loyalty keeps you at wherever you're at. And you want to look at those opportunities um, instead of looking at them as like, oh, I'm leaving this company, I'm leaving this role, and all the people that surround me, look at it as an opportunity to gain more skills and lead more people. Because usually, if somebody's reaching out to you, they want to promote you. They don't want to leave you at the same skills.
Yeah, it's a fact. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, Chris, you went on mute. Oh,
Yes,
go.
Max. So, with my specific circumstances, like if it relates to the gaming industry, I'm not sure. I'm currently a signal intelligence analyst. So, I'm not sure if you've heard of that or not. Um, but with the gaming industry, is there any fields where like having a clearance even matters?
Clearance doesn't matter that much. in the gaming industry. They value the clearance because you know how to keep a secret. So
Right.
you won't go out and share whatever you're working on, but it's not as important as it would be in the tech industry that deal with the government. The clearance, if you have a clearance, and this is the advice that I gave my brother-in-law, he had a SEI, like the Yankee White clearance. And I was
Yeah.
like, hey, you don't want to let go of the Yankee White clearance because it's so hard to get. And he was in love, so he moved to Houston and he let it go. But he ended up in an opportunity that was just as good. So the clearance isn't everything in corporate America. Just make sure you find the right fit. And if that fit needs the clearance, make sure you take advantage of it. Because there's some jobs that hire you and you don't have the skills, but you have the clearance.
Okay. So it'd probably be better to leverage like my experience as like an executive officer for leadership and
Correct.
management rather than anything else.
Yes, and the skills that you learned while working as a signal analyst. How do those skills translate over to corporate America or the position? Like if it's gaming, and I think he dropped my LinkedIn earlier.
Yep.
If y'all connect with me, I'll talk to you for 15 minutes. Everybody on this call, just say that we met at the 7A thing, because otherwise I'll be like, I don't know who this is. But if you say we met here, then that'll be the
Okay.
important piece that makes sure that I accept and figure out some time so that we can talk.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you.
No problem at all.
I imagine too with the secret clearance concern, they got to have some pretty beefy NDAs working there.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
that's yeah. You won't lose your
It's stuff
clearance.
that
You
I
won't lose
can't
some
talk
money.
about right now. Yeah, like it's stuff that I know that's coming out that I can't even mention.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you. I ain't gonna ask, man. Hey,
Yeah.
Josh, go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon, Max. Hey, thanks for coming on
What's
today.
up, Josh?
Giving
No
us some
problem at all.
insight. So I have a couple questions here. I'm trying to reach out into the talent acquisition world. I've been on Marine Corps recruiting for going on 14 years now. So I kind of like what I do, kind of want to stick with it. Is there any more kind of tips or tricks you can kind of give on and how to crack into that industry? And if you can give me a little bit more insight on the day-to-day of like talent acquisition with a company.
Okay. To crack into the industry, the key is reaching out, seeing opportunities where they need recruiters, looking at the language on the job description and figuring out how does that fit what I've been doing. Because a lot of times they're going to ask you 3+ years doing corporate recruiting. And you're like, what is corporate recruiting? You've done it, but you don't know that language. And I'll take the time to go over a job description and look at your resume and make a match up. The other thing is the day to day. The day to day is not as fast as what we're used to as recruiters. It's like we're on the gas 100, going 100 miles per hour. Corporate America moves a little bit slower. So you'll get something done super fast, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't expect you to get that done until next week." So you have to find things to maximize your time and your value while you're at an organization. And it might not be doing your job because you don't want to look like an overachiever, like making phone calls or sending messages out. We did that endlessly. Like we got called in on Saturdays to send out messages. So sending out messages and things like that is not huge. So you don't want to be the top achiever where you're like beating out everybody in the team. You want to make sure that you're on level with everybody else. You don't want to make your playing field bigger than everybody else. Now you could be number one every other week or something like that, but being number one is going to be easy for you because you've done it so much. So make sure that you take time out with other people that's on that team. Like if you're on a TA team, you want to take time out to learn from other recruiters that's been in corporate America for a while. So like I think we had to do like 60 reach outs a day. Um, I would finish those in the morning. Like it'd be like I wake up, 60 reach outs, boom, done. Um, so I would spend some of my day reaching out to other recruiters on the team to figure out how they spent their day at that organization.
No, thank you. Like I say, having to be able to talk to somebody that's in it right now, and that's the first I've heard. Like, hey, that's the first I've ever heard. Like, hey, you don't want to be that guy that's going above and beyond, out trying to outperform.
Yeah, because the team will look at you and be like, "What is up with him?" Sorry for the language, but that's what they're gonna say. They're gonna be like, "What? Why is he moving so fast?" And then it's going to be hard for you to build that team cohesion, because you need that team cohesion to find out about other opportunities out there. You need that team cohesion to figure out what the company culture is. Because a lot of times, if you're that top guy or that overachiever, the manager's going to be happy about it. Everybody should be like Josh. Josh made 200 calls this week. Where y'all at with y'all numbers? You know what I'm saying? And then everybody's looking like, Josh made 200 calls. So make sure you figure it out so that you can be a part of that team and get that team cohesion.
You got to be careful too, because you're going to have people who are like, oh, is he gunning for my job? And then start submarining you. I have definitely seen that with high achievers in the recruiting side. On the civilian thing, where you got somebody who's killing it and their boss is like, making me look bad. So keep that in mind. I mean, not saying to do substandard work, absolutely not, but just be careful how bright your star shines. Olivia.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
What's up, Olivia? How you doing? Yep.
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us today. I really appreciate it. I'd love to ask about current positions. My husband is a software engineer who's looking for work. He's a military spouse. As I'm getting out of the military, we relocated and we're both looking for work. Are you offering remote positions, hybrid positions? What areas of the country are you typically looking for software engineers at?
So right now I'm not recruiting. I used to be at Activision Blizzard. It is a new role that I hope to step into soon, but a lot of the remote opportunities have dried up. And the reason for them drying up is older people in the headquarters, like the executive positions, and then also TikTok. Everybody was on TikTok showing what they was doing when they were supposed to be at work, which execs looked at it and was like, what? Nah, y'all can come on in. So all the remote positions, like I think a lot of people that were online kind of ruined it for people that were really doing work and took advantage of like the flexibility that remote work gave, especially to veterans, military spouses, and just the military in general, because you've been told where to go for so many years. Now you get to work remote from where you want to be at. So you get to spend time with family, things like that, and don't have to drive in and out. But there are remote opportunities out there, especially for software engineers. You just have to look at the companies and see what their culture is like and what they're hiring.
Okay.
I know Microsoft is one of those companies that has a lot of remote positions. They still offer remote, but I did see a news story that they're bringing everybody into the office. So I don't know.
Yeah, there have been a lot of come back to work campaigns going around. I had a second question for you. As a recruiter, and someone who's come from a military background, you know how important it is to translate your military experience into civilian terms. Because my husband's a software engineer, I have, the same issue where I don't really know what he does as a software engineer. I know he's got lots of credentials, he knows how to code, he's worked on game development. How important is it for you as a recruiter for him to translate that into something that makes sense to you? Are you very familiar with what it is you're looking for, or is it something that he should try and interpret a little bit easier for recruiters to look at?
You want to make it as easy as possible for recruiters, because they spend probably like 30 to 60 seconds looking at that resume or that profile. A lot of times the computer does a lot of the work, so it shows you everything and where everything's at. And sometimes it doesn't. So you want to, and they just know everything about software engineering, so they can see the things when they look at your resume, but you want to make it easy for them to highlight and see when they go in. You don't want to make extra work for a recruiter or anybody.
Right.
You want the hiring manager to see, here's the skills that are important, and this is why I should hire you.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No problem at all.
Another one there, Olivia, too, is like I've seen it, and I hired both guys who did it, but actually go and use the yellow highlighter in Word or whatever for those things in the basic quals and the preferred quals, and highlight that. Because I'll tell you, boy, if that makes my life easier, it tells me a few things. One, you actually read the job posting, and two, you got all the things that we're looking for. So as a recruiter, I wouldn't waste any more time. It's right to the hiring manager, good to go, and no muss, no fuss. Make it easy. So on your side, Max, I mean, how do you think that someone should talk about their military experience in a way with a studio recruiter that they actually get it? You know, somebody who hasn't been in the military but can see the value of a military background working in a place like that.
You want to make sure that you do some informational calls with people in the industry before you jump on that call with the hiring manager so that you can translate those skills and make sure that they understand where you're coming from. Um, it's so important. Communication is like number one, and you can miss somebody by just saying the wrong phrase. So you want to make sure that you know what those phrases are. You want to make sure that you know what that culture is like at that company that you're interviewing for, so that you can pick up on those key phrases. And a lot of that language is on their career website when they look at values. You can look at the values, they lay out the values. You can look at the mission statement. You want to look at the mission statement so that you know those things up front.
Yeah, a little light cyber stalking doesn't hurt either. I mean,
Yes, you got to do a little cyber stalking.
I've definitely done that to create rapport and kind of do the polar bear thing and break the ice. But you
Yes.
don't want to be caught cyber stalking, saying like, "Hey, I saw on your Facebook." Oh, yeah,
No, you don't want to be caught doing that. Just enough
Ooh.
where you know enough information or you can bring up a commonality that you share with that person as a hobby or something like that, but not to the point of, yeah, I saw your Instagram profile and I saw all the pictures and stuff with you going whitewater rafting. I do whitewater rafting. Yeah, you don't want to be that person.
No, no. Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, you also have nice living room furniture. On to the next thing. Uh, so, I mean, through your mentorship work, what themes or challenges comes up most often with you for vets in transition?
Usually through mentorship work, it's how do I translate those skills? Because a lot of times we don't translate them well. So you want to make sure that you're translating them the right way and well. Um, and know that you're worthy enough to be applying for this role. A lot of times we deal with a lot of imposter syndrome and not knowing that you're the best fit for this job. So through mentor work, we talk about like you are fit for this job. It's more about confidence and knowing that you have those skills and you're underselling yourself when you write your resume. So you need to up those skills where it's important. Not lie, but tell the truth about what you did. And a lot of times we don't tell the truth about what we did on the resume. Even me, like I know it. And somebody looked at my resume, this executive looked at my resume and he was like, this is not the person I see in our board meetings. So who is this guy that you wrote on this sheet of paper? Because that's not the Max I know. And it's just giving yourself credit for what you can do and what you're capable of. That's a lot of the mentorship work we do.
Yeah,
Oh, I did want to plug one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I work with this great nonprofit that offers a thing called Coach in the Cloud. So if you go to my LinkedIn profile and click on visit my website, that's what that is. It's an amazing program, and it gives you feedback 24 hours a day through what's the word that I want to use?
Magic.
No, it's not magic. It's AI, but it's moral AI. Like it's not. It's based off of this art of peace thing that it was done before. So you want to make sure that you try it out, use it. It's free. They made it for veterans and people that's transitioning through careers. So it's an amazing program. Yeah.
That's really cool. So this is my last question, unless anybody else has some. But if you could go back to 3 months before you got out of the military, you know, you're push a skill bridge, what would you whisper in your ear?
Ooh, what would I whisper in my ear? Make sure you take care of yourself. That time goes by fast. Oh my God. Like I remember when I was a year out and I felt like I woke up one day and I was 90 days out. And I don't know how I got there. But know that that time goes fast. So make sure that you take care of your things. Make sure that you're doing the things to make sure that you're set up for that next step, that next chapter in life. Because a lot of times we don't set ourselves up for success. And you want to make sure that you set yourself up for success. you're doing all the classes and things like that, but there's more. And make sure you take advantages of those programs. The programs are still available now, like Onward Opportunity, Seven Eagle. Like we're in one of the programs right now. And it's a great resource for veterans. You have a community of other veterans that you can lean on. Lean on those people. And the other thing is, if somebody says, hey, reach out to me, they mean it. They don't mean like, oh, they wasn't saying it nicely. They really want to help veterans. So make sure you reach out to that person. Make sure you're intentional with that communication. You tell them what you're reaching out for them, what you're reaching out about, and how can they help you? Because people want to know how they can help you. They don't want to get on a call with you and figure it out. So you want to make sure you're intentional with that communication. And those are the things that I would tell myself.
This has been great. Thanks for spending some time with us, man. I really appreciate
No
it.
problem, no problem. And I'm there for y'all, all of y'all that's out there. If you feel stuck, you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. So
Yeah. You have any closing thoughts you'd like to share? Anything I missed or a hot topic for you?
nah, I mean, it's just when somebody says reach out, reach out. Like, and make sure you build a relationship with people. A lot of times we're transactional, just as people, and it's fearful reaching out to somebody that you don't know. So everybody has that fear. It doesn't mean that everybody's going to answer and be like, hey, yeah, I want to talk to you. That doesn't mean stop. Reach out to the next person because, and it doesn't mean that that person didn't want to talk to you. They might have been busy and you ended up at the bottom of their inbox. So in a couple of weeks, reach back out and be like, hey, I don't know if you got my message, but I really need to talk to you. I really want to talk to you about something that I believe that you can help me with. And most of the times people will reach back out and talk to you about it.
Yeah, especially on the veteran side, because we actually,
Correct.
yeah, it's built into our DNA. So thanks you.
Yes.
Max Levasseur, thank you very much for coming out, spending some time with us. Really appreciate you dropping some wisdom, the gaming stuff.
No problem at all.
Yeah, I'm an old guy with kids and all that stuff, so I can't find the time to do it anymore. But I did definitely enjoy the first Battlefield when it came out. It was a trip.
It was a good game.
Yeah, it was. It was no BS, so it was fun. So, I thank you very much, sir. So next up, appreciate it, brother. Really do. Next up, we're going to have Jason Cutter with ASML, and Brian's got that one.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Hey, Jason, you're on. Cool. All right, so let me do a quick warm intro for you. All right, team, today we're joined by Jason Cutter, a proud Marine Corps veteran with a strong background in business strategy, technology, and organizational planning. Jason combines an engineering and business education with years of leadership and management experience across diverse teams. He's known for his clear communication, collaborative approach, and passion for mentoring and coaching others to reach their full potential. So we're honored to have him with us today, and please join me in welcoming Jason Cutter. So Jason, anything I missed in that, please.
Thank you.
Yours.
Thank you for that wonderful intro. So my name is Jason Cutter. So just a little bit more. Originally from Maine, I studied mechanical engineering at University of Maine while I was commissioned into the Marine Corps through NROTC program, and did the Marine Corps thing for about 10 years. MOS wise, I was a 0402. I did I cut my teeth at Artillery Battalion 110 Camp Lejeune, deployed to Iraq with them. I guess I didn't have enough fun because I volunteered for back-to-back fleet deployments and quickly found myself in Afghanistan with 8th ESB, so Engineer Support Battalion. And then I guess I volunteered for recruiting duty. So I did recruiting duty for 3 years. Long story short, ended up out here in Camp Pendleton, and kind of came to that moment in time where, and I say we because I'm married, and we, had 2 kids along the way, where we like, hey, let's, make the decisions to stay in or get out. We decided to get out. I got out in 2017, and I have been working with the same company ever since, a company called ASML. I've taken just a little bit more of a step back. So as far as my transition itself, and you guys can interrupt me with questions or whatever anytime you want. I started about a year out because we were planning on, getting out. And so, you know, I started ahead of time. What did I do? I did a lot of things. There was no thing called SkillBridge back in, I guess SkillBridge came out in like 2016. I didn't hear the term SkillBridge until I was out of the military, and we had steps and taps, and which you have to do more than what they just show you at steps and taps. And I did a lot of research. I researched companies in my area. I researched recruiters, and one day I went online and for a particular third-party recruiter, kind of filled out this, I call it the "Hey you, this is me" form. Like, this is my name, this is when I plan on getting out, this is my military background, this is my education. Hit submit and didn't hear anything for a while. Until that like magical separation date got a little bit closer, and then I got a call out of the blue one day, and it was a recruiter and said, "Hey, are you still getting out around this time?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, there's a company in your area that is interviewing." And my it was so at the time it's kind of some technicalities, but I was hired by a company called Cymer, but you can look into it. ASML bought Cymer a while ago. So um, but the reason why I bring that up is because my interest is immediately piqued because I just spent so much time like researching tech companies in the area that I immediately kind of recognized the name. And if I remember right, I got that call on it was like a Wednesday or Thursday. That following Wednesday, I was interviewing and I had an offer by Friday. And then, I submitted my resignation on that like Monday because I was basically at that point where I had to like either submit a resignation or EAS. I mean, not EAS, I mean uh PCS. And yeah, so it happened really quickly for me. I credit some of that with just timing and luck, but I also credit some of it with the preparation that I did, like leading up to that. Because in parallel to my interviews with ASML, I was also getting interviewed by Amazon. And so when I got the offer from ASML, it was literally the first offer that I got, and I kind of jumped on it, like, not knowing if that was a good decision or not. But here I am, over 8.5 years later, I'm still with the same company.
Hey, Jason, what were some of the things you did to prepare yourself for like the interview process?
Yeah. Okay. If you forget who I am, if you forget anything I've said today, interview and mentor. You got to practice your interview skills. Um, Along the way, I became a hiring manager at one point, and I've been part of a whole bunch of different interview panels for my company. And I'll be honest, I'll spend about 60 seconds looking at a resume, but I'll spend an hour interviewing you. And that's not to say that your resume is not important, but I'm just trying to reiterate the fact of just how important interviewing is. So to answer your question, like leading up to that whole time, I was never really in a job interview per se for, 10 years I was in the Marine Corps. And so I knew that that was an important, skill to master. And on both sides of the coin now, right? Someone who transitioned out of the military, someone who, again, I've been a hiring manager, I've been part of innumerable interview panels. How you communicate is massive. Your resume will get you the interview, and the interview will get you the job, bar none. Even if you have a really strong resume, if you don't interview well, then that's probably not a good thing. Even if you have a kind of like a weaker side resume, I don't know if that's the right term, but you interview really well, that's really good. A lot of interview prep, and yeah, so again, there wasn't a thing called SkillBridge when I was getting out. So I was really looking at recruiters, uh, basically to kind of like get through that gatekeeper, right? That's the biggest, I think whether you're a veteran or a civilian just trying to interview for a job, like getting past those initial gatekeepers to get in front of somebody face to face, on recruiting duty, we call it kneecap to kneecap with somebody and explain your story. Um, that's where you're gonna make your money for sure and make the impressions. I did a lot of reading as well. Long story short, I've been working with veterans a lot, mentoring. And one thing that I always talk about, and I think is kind of a challenge to overcome, is like changing your vocabulary and how you speak in to, relay to the interview panel or whoever, what you've done. And that comes with, developing some sort of different lexicon, right? And I found reading just a whole bunch of different business books, leadership books, even like technical finance books. Even though I didn't really know that's what I wanted to do, I just kind of changed my reading list. And I think it really helped me develop that civilian lingo, so to speak. And yeah, so just a lot of prep. I mean, I was doing something every day to prepare for the transition. I wanted to keep my options open because one option was to stay in and kind of continue on. So
Yeah, I think
yeah,
preparation in anything we do is very important.
yeah,
So as you just said you'll read a resume for like, a couple minutes and then talk to someone for an hour. Like what are some of the questions like that you ask, or what are some of the things that you look for when you're in an interview?
yeah. So the literally the biggest thing is just clear communication. Um, there's a whole bunch of books on interviewing, and to be honest with you, it can kind of be awkward on both sides of the table, right? Um, but being from the military, and if I'm interviewing a veteran, that can kind of work against you a little bit sometimes in the way that you can't sugarcoat things, you know what I mean? You got to be pretty honest about what you've done. I would also say it's a bit of a mindset change, especially as, a leader where, your team is out accomplishing a whole bunch of stuff. At some point, you need to recognize that you've also accomplished those things, and those are the stories that you want to be able to tell, during the interview process. Um, if the hiring panel, does ask questions about your resume, you should be pretty excited because that's like your highlight reel, right? Like you want them to ask you questions about that. So sometimes I'll ask just a couple questions about what's on someone's resume as well. But man, I mean, there's a whole bunch of different questions. It's hard for me to like just say, hey, these are the questions, these are the answers to the test. It's really going to depend a lot on the role that you're applying for. Um, the point I'm trying to make is, spend a lot of time doing interview prep. And one way that I did that was I had what I called the I Love Me binder, right? I had every single eval that was ever written on me. I had every award. I had every like training certificate that you kind of get these training certificates. Sometimes you're like, what am I going to do with this? Put it in there, and that is where you can really develop your stories, right? Because when you're interviewing for a job, you're kind of telling the stories of what you've done.
Do you get a lot of elevator speeches?
Uh, yeah, I would say just right off the top, like a quick, 30-second intro is probably pretty good, um, for sure. Because depending on how, uh, you know, peel back the curtain a little bit, some people that you're interviewing with may not even have looked at your resume. They might just be part of an interview team that, hey, we're going to interview this candidate. At whatever time. And that person might have a meeting right up to that interview. They might roll in, maybe look at your resume, but hey, tell me about yourself or whatever whatever they're teaching these days, that elevator pitch. Definitely have that ready to go. It's a good way to break the ice too, right?
if we have any brave souls out there after you maybe discuss a little bit about what else you do and what I'm going to butcher the acronym because I've been doing this all day. AMLS, AMSL, right?
ASML. Yeah. So
ASML.
yeah,
Can you?
it's
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I can tell you a little bit about the company as well.
Yeah, please do.
That's what you, okay. So first and foremost, it's probably one of the biggest tech companies that you've never heard of. It's Europe's biggest tech company. You may have heard of companies like Apple and Intel. Well, Intel uses our machines to make computer chips. Intel gets their computer chips made by a company called TSMC, and they use our machines to make computer chips. And the company, when I started, was about 20,000 people, I think, and it's like 40,000. So we've grown really, really, really fast. And basically, ASML is a hardware and software company. We make hardware and software that produces computer chips. I can almost guarantee you hold up your phone, you have our technology in your phone. I think it's like 70-something% of, don't quote me on that, but smartphones have our technology. And there's a bunch of different technologies that my company has, to the point where I don't know anything about them. What I work on is machines that produce EUV, extreme ultraviolet light. And if you don't know this, so essentially computer chips are made with a process called photolithography. And I'm trying to get my wafer out here. So when your computer chips are originally exposed to light, it comes out on a wafer. It looks like this. This is not a very late model wafer, if you will. They're way too expensive to be holding. They don't let humans touch these, right? Because, essentially what happens is we make this extreme ultraviolet light. It's 13.5 nanometers, and it's a pretty complicated process, but EUV doesn't exist in atmosphere. It doesn't exist naturally.